His name was JBN, age 37. Since he was young, he had worked in this field as a hunter manager. An image appeared of a man in a dapper suit, holding a glass of red wine. He stood by a window, gazing up at the stars. And just last week, he had become the general manager of the nation's largest hunter store. His face was one of pure satisfaction as he drank his wine. In his jubilant mood, JBN mumbled to himself, now that he has secured the best position in the country, he should leave his past behind and start living elegantly like the other nobles. He must always be well dressed. My tie is crooked. I can't allow myself to appear improper in front of others like this. His condescending face was matched by his thoughts. They say a person's status is what defines their character. And with the position I now hold, I should be treated with the utmost elegance. Sounds echoed around him. Excuse me, please, excuse me. However, his current reality was anything but elegant. A voice called out, "Hey!" which made JBN even more furious. In this sanctuary that I have built, why? It turned out to be Ook, looking utterly pathetic after returning from his workplace, with a pile of items and Snow White on his shoulder. I'm here to sell something. Glancing at his appearance, JBN judged. A beggar like him dares to set foot in here? The more he looked, the more JBN judged. Is this beggar really a hunter? His pet is tiny, and he doesn't have a single piece of armor on him. After observing the customer for a moment, JBN smirked contemptuously. I know what's going on here. This happens quite often. A bunch of delusional fools who think they're hunters scavenge junk from an empty dungeon and come here to sell it. However, that was just an internal thought, as he still had to greet his customer. Yes, welcome to the hunter's office. I will be your guide. Please, this way. JBN led the way, introducing the place as they walked. This is the item appraisal center. Reaching the end of the hall, JBN sighed, considering his duty done. He pointed a dismissive finger at the item appraiser. Here, you can give whatever you've picked up to him for inspection. The old man spoke cheerfully. Now then, I'll appraise the items you've brought. The sack that Ook had been carrying was finally open. As soon as he held an old weapon in his hands, the old man became nervous and stammered, These, where did you get these things? As if he had anticipated this. The boy simply replied, I got some random items from someone I know. Standing from a distance, the manager JBN heard this, and was a little surprised, but it confirmed his suspicions. He yelled, I knew it! Random items? How dare you set foot in the hunter's store with this cheap, filthy junk? His shrill voice made Ook cover his ears in annoyance. Immediately after, JBN turned to the appraiser. Sir, surely he's only brought strange items, hasn't he? Tell me. But on the contrary, the appraiser replied firmly. I've been doing this for 40 years, and you're the first person to call items like these random. Because all of these are high-quality, 4-star equipment. A whole array of items, shining with a brilliant aura, were displayed on the table. Hearing these words, JBN stood frozen for 5 seconds, unable to believe his ears. Impossible. He looked at Ook with a hint of caution. His gaze had changed. How could someone like him get his hands on such high-end items? Could he actually be some big shot? Where did he come from? I've heard there are humble people who are actually filthy rich. After a moment's consideration, JBN changed his tune in an instant. He switched to a sycophantic voice. Sir, allow me to escort you to the VIP room. He even bowed respectfully, pleading. They moved to the VIP room. There, the old appraiser proposed. First, I'll give you a price. If you sell all of these items, you'll receive approximately 3 billion G. Ook was now being treated like an emperor, but he maintained a calm and composed demeanor. Haha, is that so? 300 million G? But he quickly realized something was wrong. He froze, thinking. At that moment, it hit Ook, a shock that went straight to his brain. 3. He had to cover his mouth with his hand to keep from shouting. A pile of equipment that the Forge God Hephaestus called failed products is worth 3 billion? His reaction even confused Snow White, who was beside him. While he trembled, thinking about a sum of money he could live on for the rest of his life, the old man, oblivious, continued. And that's just talking about the product quality. Depending on the number of buyers and sellers, you could even get double that amount. Listening to this, JBN's expression remained perplexed. He stared intently at the boy, calculating. High-quality items, for which buyers would pay any price they wanted due to a lack of supply, are right in front of me. The more he thought, the more determined JBN became. He clenched his fist resolutely. Even if I have to play the part of a sycophant, I will secure the rights to sell these items, no matter the cost. After a moment of internal struggle, JBN stood up. He put on a smile and spoke in a sweet voice. My dearest customer, if you intend to sell these things, then… But before he could finish, he was cut off. All of it. Uk stated. This left JBN stunned and speechless, his mouth hanging open. What? Uk, having regained his composure, affirmed with his eyes half closed. I'll sell everything. Hearing this, JBN wanted to dance with joy, celebrating internally. An angel. He's an angel sent down to earth. With this, my path to promotion will go even further. But once again, Uk's next words froze him solid. But I have no intention of selling it here. I've never seen anyone guide a customer with their hands in their pockets. Contrary to the initial introduction, there was now a difference. His name was JBN, age 37, former general manager of the Hunter's office. He was the first person to lose the highest position within just 1 week of his appointment. A little while later, Uk had gone to another store and sold his items. The staff bowed respectfully to him. Thank you, sir. Opening his savings book, Uk's hands trembled as he looked at the number representing the money he had just received. I hope this isn't a dream, he thought. As he walked, his eyes filled with emotional tears, because the amount in his account had so many digits he couldn't even count them all. I have money in my account. How many zeros are there? But then he thought more carefully. By the way, even the people at this place seem surprised by me, though not as surprised as the people at the Hunters Guild. Is it because my clothes are too shabby? That would make sense, since I've been fighting all over the place today. At that moment, his attention was drawn to a clothing store, its windows sparkling with lights from within. Uk smirked happily, thinking to himself, all right, since I've made a lot of money, I'll reward myself with a gift for working so hard. And tomorrow, I'll go straight to my mom's place looking like a good son. The scene changed to the next day, at the door of hospital room 331, belonging to Uk's mother. Inside the room, his mother called his name in surprise. My son! It had been a long time since he had last visited her, which made her a bit sad, and she had grown a little thinner. It's been a while, hasn't it? But his appearance this time, along with the pile of gifts he brought, startled her. And what's with all these gifts you've brought for me? Just then, a lady from the next bed came over with a remote, turned on the TV, and said, oh my, you should watch TV sometimes to keep up with the news. A news report was broadcasting. Mr. Uk, the man who swept the labyrinth dungeon, has been evaluated by experts as having top-tier talent in this country. However, he does not currently belong to any guild. The neighboring patient continued to praise him. People are going crazy over your son. He's getting really famous, you know. She continued to gush over his talent. According to the reporter, he cleared the dungeon with his own talent. Receiving the praise, Uk scratched his head shyly and replied with a small laugh. Haha, well, I didn't clear the dungeon all by myself. The neighboring patient, encouraged, pressed on. Ah, what a humble young man. Could you give me your autograph before you leave? Lying in her hospital bed, hearing these things surprised his mother. An autograph? She stammered, her mouth agape. My son has talent? Seeing his mother so surprised, Uk explained awkwardly. I only recently discovered my talent. He also thought to himself, although that's not the whole story. He looked at his mother and gently explained. This happened so suddenly, so I also don't really know what's going on. But before he could finish his sentence, his mother suddenly buried her face in her hands on the table, making him call out in alarm, Mom! Fortunately, she was just trying to hide her overwhelming emotions. Mom is just so happy. Tears of joy streamed down her cheeks. Her actions left Uk confused, not understanding what was happening. Mom, why are you crying? His mother, still covering her face, sobbed. This is wonderful. At that moment, Ook realized, Mom has always blamed herself, thinking I didn't have any talent. The TV report continued. We're back with more news about the dungeon. Reporters surrounded a man for an interview. Hunter Nam Gong Ook. Currently, everyone is very curious about this new hunter because of the rumors. Who is he? The man answered carefully, without a hint of hesitation. I cannot give you the details, but he is the best hunter I know. Of course, he is incredibly strong as a swordsman, but he is also extremely agile, and if it weren't for him, we probably wouldn't have been able to clear that dungeon. While his mother was watching the news, surprised and wanting to confirm, oh my goodness, they're talking about you, aren't they? Ook stood beside her, covering his eyes with his hand. He was incredibly embarrassed by the praise. Mr. Ook, isn't that a bit much? But he immediately switched to strategic thinking. No, this could be an opportunity. He was lost in thought. The more famous I become, the more divine power I'll receive. And then I can take on even more part-time jobs. I've already chosen a few decent ones. The system continuously displayed notifications. Divine power increased based on reputation. Recruitment notice. Job. Eliminate the lost souls on the Hill of Eden. Divine power required. 100,000. Recruiter. Michael. Reward. 1 golden apple. A golden apple. A symbol of the god's immortality, especially as a reward from a job on the Hill of Eden. That apple could. An image of a golden apple, radiant with brilliant colors, appeared. Ook looked at his mother, who was overjoyed and proud, and thought to himself, it could even cure my mom's cancer. Suddenly, on the TV, the news anchor announced breaking news. Currently, a gate has opened in the city of Gin in Gyeonggi-do. Everyone has been immediately notified to evacuate at this time. The screen showed a time vortex with thick black smoke appearing all around it. Seeing this, Snow White, who was usually arrogant, was now terrified and looking for a place to hide. His mother, standing beside him, saw Snow White burrowing into his shirt and asked in surprise, "Oh my, isn't that your scarf?" Seeing the white fox trembling so much made him worry. "What's wrong, Snow White?" he asked. He instinctively touched its ear. As he did, a stream of black energy flowed into him, causing his eyes to see a strange vision of the galaxies outside Earth's atmosphere. That haunting image left him confused and suspicious. He clutched his head and wondered, what was that? The news report continued. The association has requested help from several guilds. Because this gate is different from previous dungeons, it doesn't allow anyone to enter and only lets monsters out. Watching the report, Ook's head throbbed as he tried to decipher the vision he had just witnessed. He quickly got up to leave. "Bye, Mom, I have to go." "Goodbye, Mom." His mother was reluctant to see him go. "You have to leave already? Why don't you stay a little longer?" But her friend stopped her. "He's probably very busy. I told you he's famous now." At the gate, countless killer monsters were pouring out, coldly advancing to slaughter the citizen. The hunters were preparing for battle. The Legion captain shouted, "This is the third wave. Everyone, get ready. Move the wounded to the back, quickly." Then, on a cliff above, a figure slowly appeared. It was none other than Ook with Snow White. Their appearance signaled the start of a new battle. Looking down from above, he calmly realized, so that's where the gate is. Below, countless soldiers were struggling to fight the bloodthirsty monsters. With a determined look in his eyes, Ook, with Snow White on his shoulder, both brimming with fighting spirit, charged into battle. "Let's go." A long-nosed monster was impaled through the chest with a sword, fresh blood still flowing relentlessly. It lay unconscious, its fate unknown. A soldier sheathed his sword and turned to ask his comrades behind him, "This is the third wave, right?" The commander, doing nothing but pointing and giving orders, said, "Everyone, rest for a bit before the next wave hits. The reporters are here, so remember to mind your conduct." A low-ranking soldier, hearing the sound of falling rocks, looked up. Ook's silhouette was reflected in his eyes, but he couldn't see his face clearly. "What's that? Is that a person?" Realizing something was wrong, he rushed back to report, out of breath. "Sir!" The captain angrily grabbed him by the collar and questioned him. "Who gave you permission to leave the formation? Didn't you hear the announcement that the reporters are here? You idiot. Although he was terrified of being reprimanded, he still pointed in the direction he had just come from, his voice trembling. But sir, look up there, up there. The captain followed his gaze, frowning in confusion. What is that? You were striking a cool pose, looking in their direction as they talked. When asked, the low-ranking soldier voiced his guess. I think it's a civilian. The captain stood frozen for a few seconds. Oh, a civilian? In a restricted area? He scratched his head and replied, Yes, sir. The captain's mood changed erratically. He flew into a rage again, squeezing the soldier's chin, gritting his teeth, and glaring at him. Then what the hell are you doing here? He immediately pointed and barked an order. Go get him and bring him here. The soldier scrambled away, not forgetting to reply, Yes, sir. The reporters standing nearby saw this scene. A man asked curiously, What's going on? The woman beside him, who had been observing the situation, replied, It seems a civilian has wandered in here. The commander was stunned that the reporters had already caught on so quickly. The male reporter turned and whispered to the woman beside him, But I heard the team leader this time is quite capable. The female reporter took out a notebook and jotted something down, replying nonchalantly, Yeah, and yet he can't even control civilians entering a restricted area. He voiced his suspicion. Or maybe he climbed to that position through the back door? The woman agreed, smiling with excitement. I think that would make an interesting article. The commander's face darkened with rage. He immediately stormed off, leaving his hat behind, and clicked his tongue. Useless bastards. He ran behind the mountain, muttering in frustration. My comrades get to go into the dungeon while I'm stuck here. This is crazy enough. They'd better promote me soon. He activated his wind speed, and took a running start up the mountain, his destination being where the boy was standing. The boy was surprised to see this and exclaimed, Oh! As soon as he reached the top, he was out of breath. One hand on his hip, the other rubbing his bald head, he complained, Damn it, why does everything have to fall on me? After catching his breath, he turned to the boy and questioned him. That's enough. Don't you know this is a restricted area? He then ordered, Get out, now. You can go somewhere else to shoot your YouTube videos. He looked at the boy's appearance and stood frozen, speechless. He smirked smugly to himself. Look at this bastard. Is he frozen after seeing a 3-star hunter in real life? Look at him, scared stiff. He started rambling on again. I understand you're nervous standing in front of a 3-star hunter, but it's okay. If you want an autograph or an interview, I can help you. The boy was fed up with his overconfidence and denied everything he had just said. I have something to do here, so please give me some time. He paid him no mind and started talking to Snow White. An autograph and an interview? Is he that famous? Being ignored for the first time, the man angrily grabbed his arm and called him back. Hey, did you just ignore me? The boy, annoyed at being held back, turned his head and asked, What's wrong with you? The man was cursing him in his head. Is this bastard kidding me? He looked up at the sky, covering his face with his hand, and lamented his fate. Now even some nobody dares to disrespect me, relying on that weak little pet of his. You must be some nameless hunter trying to get famous. But you should know your place. If you don't, I don't mind teaching you a lesson with my fists. Snow White, on the boy's shoulder, couldn't take it anymore and gnashed its teeth, wanting to immediately pounce and scratch his face to shreds. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his fist and lunged at the boy. But the boy simply leaned back and skillfully dodged, then stuck out his leg to trip him, causing him to lose his balance and fall forward. Unfortunately for him, right in front of him was a cliff. He screamed in terror, just moments away from falling. Just then, the boy casually reached out and pulled him back. The two of them held on to each other. The boy quickly apologized. Are you okay? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. However, should a 3-star hunter be throwing punches so carelessly? He was quite surprised by the boy's response, his face turning from black to white with anger. You bastard! You just got lucky! Do you know who I am, you bastard? The boy used his divine power to pull him up easily, leaving him speechless for a few seconds. The boy turned around and raised his hands in surrender. Wait a minute. It's fine to keep fighting me, but is it okay with you? I think people are watching. Below, people were murmuring. Why is it so noisy? A reporter's voice rang out. Are they fighting up there? Get a close-up. He had been enduring one humiliation after another. His eyes were as sharp as a blade as he gritted his teeth and shouted, "You bastard! You did this on purpose!" The female reporter below looked up, puzzled. Hey, isn't that?" The reporter filming beside her recognized him and replied, "Yes, that's him. The one who conquered the labyrinth dungeon with the Monster Hunters Guild. Ook. He's become famous recently." He was stunned when he heard the conversation below, breaking out in a cold sweat. What? This bastard is Ook? The best hunter that even Ook acknowledged? The boy stood on high, looking down, his hands in his pockets, a smirk on his face. "We've caught their attention." He then waved to the reporters and shouted, "Hey, reporters! Get a good shot, because you're about to get some good news." After speaking, he put his hands back in his pockets and turned to the man, his voice cold. "Ah, what were you saying earlier? A nobody is disrespecting you? You'll teach me a lesson with your fists?" Being called out, he was terrified and collapsed to the ground, his earlier arrogance gone, stammering incoherently. The boy emphasized each word, "Open your eyes and see what a nobody can do." This made him tremble and break out in a cold sweat. The reporters were still observing the situation up there, and he still hadn't processed what the boy had just said. "Wait. What do you mean?" The boy didn't answer but jumped off the cliff with Snow White. To everyone's astonishment, the place he was heading for was the gate that no one could enter. He just touched it lightly, and the gate opened. The people below were enveloped in dust and smoke, covering their noses and coughing. The female reporter exclaimed in amazement, "What was that?" He was also amazed by the boy's actions, and watched without missing a single detail. The gate. This was a phenomenon that had started appearing 10 years ago. Unlike dungeons, where only weak monsters appeared, and because it would disappear on its own after a while, it was treated simply as a traffic accident. Some scholars had emphasized the danger of the gates. People usually didn't pay much attention to them, because humans couldn't pass through them. People were murmuring, "Did he just go through the gate?" Gate is confirming information, checking status, result, lowest ranking god. You may enter this world. The system also warned him, "You are entering the other world. The eye of the abyss is watching you." The other world gradually appeared before his eyes. The landscape was quite bleak, with hills and mountains. I was right. This really is the gate from Han Bing's memories, so that means a god can enter, right? There were many questions that still had no answers. He fell into deep thought. Why don't they allow humans to enter the gates like dungeons? He said dungeons were created to test humanity. He remembered the words of the god Tho. Your job is to create trials that humans can overcome. He began to investigate the place. First, let's look around. Suddenly, he ran into a red barrier that blocked him from going further. He was startled and wondered, what is this? He reached out and touched it again. Warning, you lack divine power. You cannot enter. The eye of the abyss is watching you. He stood there, stunned, and kicked the barrier. The warning sounded again. Warning, you lack divine power. You cannot enter. The eye of the abyss is watching you. He still refused to give up, and threw himself at the barrier with all his might. The warning kept blaring. Warning, you lack divine power. You cannot enter. The eye of the abyss is watching you. Over and over again, he threw himself at the barrier, and the warning kept repeating. Warning, you lack divine power. You cannot enter. The eye of the abyss is watching you. He screamed in angry frustration. Damn divine power. How am I supposed to get out of here without divine power? After smashing and throwing a tantrum on the ground to no avail, he sat down with his legs crossed and his arms folded across his chest, looking defiant and angry. All right. It seems I have no other choice. He jumped to his feet. Then I only have one goal. His face was sly, as he instructed Snow White, stay close. He turned towards a dark cave nearby. I saw this as soon as I got here, but I didn't want to go in. He looked at the pitch-black cave, the path uneven and rugged, and made his decision. Well then, let's go meet them. Ook walked for what seemed like an eternity without seeing his destination, panting with exhaustion. The sounds of monsters echoed intermittently. Some time passed, and he had defeated many low-level monsters but still hadn't met their boss. He vented his anger on a defeated monster lying motionless on a rock. Where the hell do so many of you keep coming from? He was tired of this endless walking. He had thought he could finish them off easily by killing the boss, just like in other dungeons. But I don't even have a single clue. There's something different from a dungeon. Maybe the monsters in dungeons are programmed to fight like robots. But these guys, they seem to have a will of their own. He spotted a surviving monster frantically trying to escape. He had to give it credit. Fast runner. He touched the nearby rock wall. My divine power definitely increased when I entered the gate. If that's the case, I have to hold on to it. While his guard was down, a giant monster appeared right behind him out of nowhere. By the time he realized it, it had already launched an attack. He quickly dodged just in time. A loud explosion echoed. Boom! He stood firm, observing the newly appeared boss, and praised it. Not bad. So, you're here. The gate's guardian boss. The monster was fuming, its body 3 or 4 times the size of a normal person, holding a sword 100 meters long. He noticed its face was drooling, and its eyes were only white. Wait, it looks a bit. Without a word it charged at him. Here it comes. But he waited, and it still hadn't reached. He gaped in astonishment. So slow. His excited expression quickly turned to disappointment. What a letdown. Are you sure you're the boss? You carry the title of bosses, yet you're not cautious at all. While he was muttering to himself, it swung its sword straight at him. He easily blocked the sword with his foot, pinning it to the ground and causing it to break in half. The monster held up the broken half of its sword, scratching its head, as if wondering what just happened. He summoned Snow White, who transformed into a sword, and gently slashed across its chest, before it could even react. It was so slow it didn't even know why it was dying as it collapsed to the ground. He still couldn't believe it was that simple, looking at the motionless boss on the ground. What the hell? That's it? He picked up a dry branch nearby, sat down beside the creature, one hand on his chin, the other poking the monster's face with the branch. There's no message at all. Is it really dead? Or is it pretending? No one will believe I cleared this gate if it's like this. He picked up his sword, his eyes lighting up as a new idea struck him. I'll have to create some proof myself. YouTube taught me that core extraction must start from the heart. He used his sword to carve one line after another, sending fresh blood splattering everywhere. He hesitated excitedly. Here? Or here? Oh, cut right here. Yes, that's it. Gush after gush of fresh blood spurted out. He struck something hard, quickly took it out, and looked at it with delight. Found it. The unconscious monster couldn't even escape the horror and death. He's a real demon. He turned the thing over and over, puzzled. Why is it so black? They said cores are usually like gems and sparkle. He frowned, feeling it move. The black lump grew larger and larger, terrifying him so much that he threw it into a corner. Why does it look so scary? He poked the black thing with the tip of his sword. Am I doing something wrong? The cursed soul of a dead goblin? Snow White, in sword form, was also startled and exclaimed, What the F? He lifted the thing with his sword, making Snow White scream in disgust. He repented. Sorry, Snow White. A system notification appeared. Core collected. The gate will disappear permanently. He was surprised. Bingo! Back where the reporters were filming, the area was now cordoned off by the police. Inside were the cracks leading to the gate. The police were trying to stop the reporters from pushing forward to get information. Some reporters were asking questions. Did someone really go inside the gate? What's going on? A middle-aged woman with short hair and a red hairpin was relentlessly questioning someone. Doc. Nearby, reporters were continuously questioning the commander. He was waving his arms, animatedly answering every question. He flew straight into that gate. The woman seemed to be losing her patience. Shouldn't we stop them? It will be chaos if this is announced to the world. Is that all? Impossible. There will be criticism against academia for spreading false information. But the doctor beside her was looking something up, his face annoyed, ignoring her words. From the renowned dungeon investigators, a secretary pushed up his glasses and asked, Chairman, what are your orders? The old man with silver hair and a beard immediately replied, We will wait and see. Even the dignitaries from the Hunters Association were all paying attention to this event. A middle-aged man with blonde hair asked while smoking, "The hunter who went inside the gate." The woman was in a heated debate with the doctor. "If anything happens from now on." Suddenly, the boy's head popped out with a greeting. Oh, so many people. Just as expected, everyone's eyes were on him. The murmurs and interviews started up again, becoming a frenzy. "That's the person who came out of the gate." "Oh my God! How did you get in there?" "He was trapped in the crowd and couldn't get out. He laughed and said, 'Let me out first.'" The woman watched him step out unharmed, her mouth agape in disbelief. He went through the gate like he was jumping through a hula hoop. As soon as he stepped out, he closed his eyes and enjoyed the fresh air, sighing, "Ah, the air out here feels so good." A barrage of cameras was pointed at him. The reporters quickly started their interviews. "Where did you come from? Did you really go inside the gate? Were there monsters inside? Are you tricking us?" The questions came one after another. He raised his index finger in a cool pose. No, that's not the important issue. The important thing is that from now on." He paused for dramatic effect. "You can all block the gates yourselves." The reporters erupted again. "Destroy the gate? Just getting inside was a miracle. How can it be destroyed? Does that mean gates can be cleared like dungeons? Please be more specific." He turned his back to the crowd, feeling smug. "Good, very good, an excellent performance." He proudly raised his sword, showing everyone what he had collected inside. "This is the core I took from the boss guarding the gate. Open your eyes and look." The cameras focused on him. He snapped his fingers, throwing the object into the air, and it immediately changed its size. "Let me show you all something interesting." He used his sword to unleash a series of overlapping slashes, cutting the thing into small pieces that shattered and fell to the ground. The gate also reacted. It suddenly exploded and broke into small fragments, stunning everyone. "The gate! Unbelievable! The gate has disappeared." He was enjoying the feeling of being admired, feeling pleased with himself. "This aura is amazing." The woman held a fragment of the gate in her palm, full of regret. "I thought I had seen everything while testing gates my entire life, but this sight." The reporters' voices rang out again, as chaotic as a market. "Should I take a picture of this? Damn it, this is insane. Print this on the front page now." The woman turned her head and looked at him in a daze. "Who are you?" she asked. He was dancing with joy inside, having finally been asked the question. "I've been waiting for this question." He smiled and replied, "You am Ook. My name is Am Ook." On all the papers and media outlets, the news was spreading like wildfire. A mysterious hunter has entered a gate. From the broadcast that caught everyone's attention, the name Yuamuk became known throughout the country. Many comments also appeared online. "Yuamuk? Isn't that the guy who was active in the Labyrinth dungeon?" A user with the nickname JK also commented sarcastically. "A real attention seeker." Another user named Encourage replied, "Is this the definition of looking dumb but being cool? Ah, but is he even a hunter? His name doesn't show up in a search." Another user also wondered, "Did he destroy the gate? Isn't he just pretending?" SFG agreed with that opinion. Large-scale acting should be appreciated. Someone else defended him. "Isn't he the first person in the world to open a gate?" A user named Ut also agreed. "Agreed. I'm proud that Korea is the first country to do so." The system continuously announced rewards. Divine power is 5,000. Divine power is in good condition. Divine power is 7,000. Divine power is 8,000. Divine power is increasing rapidly. Congratulations, Yuamuk. You have reached a divine power of 10,000. From now on, you are a low-ranking god. He scrolled through the notifications one by one. Huh? It seems there was an important notification. Something about a low-ranking god. Suddenly, a reporter rushed in front of him for an interview. "Mr. Yuamuk, please give us a statement," he yelled in surprise. Other microphones were also pointed straight at his face. The reporter's questions came one after another. "When were you able to pass through the gate? How did you get the core to break the gate? Please answer us." He was surrounded by microphones, struggling to get a word out. "Wait a minute. I just received an important notification." A pair of long, slender legs stepped out of a car. She seemed to be on the phone with someone. Yes, we just found out. A bodyguard in sunglasses rushed over, gently pushing a female reporter aside, and immediately apologized. Excuse me, ma'am. The female reporter, annoyed at being pushed, turned and cursed. Damn it, don't push. It's crowded here. Where do you think you're going? She then spotted someone interesting and tugged at her colleague's sleeve. Hey, that person. Before she could finish, the crowd erupted again. The Sangoon Guild? Really? Wow, I thought she was a goddess. Being bombarded with questions, he quickly raised his hand to calm the reporters. Calm down, one at a time. So Yoon led a group of bodyguards, her arms crossed in front of her chest like a TV drama boss lady. She brushed her long, silky hair with one hand and called out in a snooty voice, "You, Am-uk. The guildmaster wants to see you, so you have to come with us now." She was so arrogant because she was the future guildmaster of the Sangoon Guild. A 7-star hunter, Do So-yoon. Yu Am-uk was led by So-yoon's people to meet the Sangoon Guildmaster. While waiting for someone to be called, he was told to wait in a rather large room. He looked around the room and assessed it. Wow, this really is one of the 2 largest guilds in Korea. The room is so spacious. He remembered being led by the bodyguard when he arrived. The guildmaster is busy because a submerged cave suddenly appeared in Okinawa. He will be back soon, so please wait here. He had followed the bodyguard, looking confused. What's with this guy? Calling me over and then going to a dungeon? Returning to the present, he plopped down on the sofa, comfortably enjoying the place. With nothing to do, he started guessing. Did he see the news on his way to the dungeon and hastily called me over? But if I stay there any longer, I'll definitely say something wrong. Are they planning to recruit me or something? But I really didn't expect someone like that to actually show up. He leaned back on the couch, remembering the image of So-yoon from the morning, and couldn't help but admire her. Do So-yoon, who rose to the position of the youngest future guildmaster of Sangoon on her own, one of the 3 7-star hunters in the country. During the golden age of hunters, she was recognized by almost everyone in the world. If she were an ordinary Korean citizen, she would be a shining star, known to everyone. His expression was dazed, lost in thought. But it's true, isn't it? If it weren't for someone of that caliber, how could I have gotten out of there? Those people parted like the Red Sea. But this is good too. Because I wanted some free time to look at. He called up the system's job window. On the screen, a status message appeared. Welcome, low-ranking god, Yu Um-uk. You have been promoted to a low-ranking god. New abilities have been unlocked. Power system has been activated. Icon system has been activated. Title system has been activated. Do you want to load the titles you can choose from? He excitedly scrolled through all the title notifications. Like Thor, God of Thunder, or Ares, God of War. I have to choose something cool. He was torn, not knowing which one to choose. Each had its own benefits. Which one should I choose? Suddenly, his eyes lit up as if he had found the perfect one. Oh, these are the god titles? God of Fans, God of the Mosquito Swatter, God of the Water Bottle. He jumped as if he'd been electrocuted and screamed in horror. What the hell is this? What kind of god names are these? God of the Mosquito Swatter? You've got to be kidding me. He imagined himself as the god of the mosquito swatter, holding a swatter and catching mosquitoes one by one. He frantically scrolled, looking for something suitable. I have to find something cool. An hour later, the corner of his mouth twitched up. Found it. Here it is, a good title. On the screen appeared the titles. God of Shoe Soles, Sword God, God of Spoons, God of Gloves. His face lit up as if he had struck gold. Sword God suits my talent perfectly. All right, then I'll choose you. Sword God. He immediately pressed the button to select Sword God. The system confirmed once more. Do you want to select Sword God? Without hesitation, he immediately pressed the Yes button. Low-ranking god Uk has been granted the name Sword. Magical circles appeared, forming into a title that flew towards him and then into his body. As soon as it connected with him, he felt an uncomfortable sensation, like currents of electricity enveloping his body. After a while, the entire fusion process was complete. He stumbled out of the door, panting. Another system notification appeared. Congratulations, Uk. You have been bestowed the title Sword God. An unknown goddess has blessed you. He sat down on the sofa, sighing in relief. Just finding a name was this hard. He remembered the struggle when he first received his powers. Now I remember, when I got my abilities, I fainted too. The system's notification sound chimed again. You have selected a power. The power has been unlocked. Please select the power of the sword god. A flood of information was provided to him by the system. He carefully read through each piece of information, utterly astonished. A power. I finally have the power of a god? It also mentions holy power here. He looked at the information about sword aura. Transforms holy power into a sword, a power that can pierce anything. He mumbled to himself. Why worry? I'm not going to buy any of those expensive things in the shop anyway. When I level up, it'll all become mine, right? Right now, I can't even choose a horrifyingly strong power. He was a bit disappointed, continuously scrolling through the items in the shop. My first power will be, he exclaimed. Intuition. Let's go with this one. A notification sound chimed. You have selected Intuition as your first ability. Your profile has been updated. His profile, provided by the system, was quite detailed. Yuamuk. Race. Human. Class. Low-ranking god. Holy power. 10,120. Power. Intuition. Talents. Martial arts SS. Swordsmanship SS. Skills. Combat focus S. Boxing E+, darts E, instant acceleration F, counterattack F, horizontal/F. Short hammer B, intuition sixth sense unlocked. He joyfully hugged the system screen, dancing around in celebration. Finally, it looks like a god's profile. I even have skills. I'll check them out later. He was thrilled to see his skills listed. Combat focus S, boxing E+, darts E, instant acceleration F, counterattack F, horizontal/F, short hammer B. While he was lost in his joyous celebration, a knock on the door pulled him back to reality. Is that Mr. Uck? He called out. Snow White, sitting on his back, retorted. No, he went to the submerged dungeon. How could he be back already? He asked back. But besides him, who else would be looking for me? Curiously, he went to the door and opened it. Who is it? He was stunned to see Do So-yoon. She was standing with her arms crossed, wearing a coat. Seeing him, she spoke first. May I come in for a moment, Ook? He was still standing there in a daze, unable to react. Why are you here? He wondered. She didn't answer immediately, rummaging through her pocket for something. Wait a moment, the guildmaster wanted me to give you this. She handed him a red card, which he took and examined closely. It had a picture of a tiger and a barcode. It's a special card from the Sangun Guild, she explained. You can use all the facilities in the guild. He looked at the card, then glanced at her, lost in thought. Is this part of their recruitment plan? His expression changed 180 degrees, and he smiled. Thanks. She stood there, not understanding what he meant. He also froze awkwardly and quickly explained, thanks for the card. She didn't react. They both fell into silence, neither saying another word. He was flustered, not knowing what to do next. Oh, this is so awkward. Why is she so quiet? Do So-yoon, there's something strange about her. Not wanting the awkward atmosphere to continue, he forced a smile to break the silence. Well then, I'll just. Before he could finish his sentence, Snow White's eyes suddenly lit up, and it joyfully leaped into her arms, surprising both of them. He was shocked by Snow White's action and exclaimed, What the? After a few seconds, he regained his composure, his eyes nearly popping out of his head, and a cold sweat broke out as he yelled, Snow White. He then turned to her and apologized profusely. I'm so sorry. It's a little mischievous. However, her reaction was unexpected. She replied calmly, It's okay. She stroked its soft white fur and praised it. This summoned beast is so cute. She then shyly asked, May I feed it? He stared in disbelief at what he had just heard, but nodded in agreement. Huh? Oh, sure. Receiving his permission, she took something that looked like an almond from her pocket and fed it to Snow White. It squinted its eyes happily and opened its mouth to take the treat. He watched Snow White with So-yoon, and a new suspicion arose in his mind. The other day, this thing didn't even care about the nurses. What is it like about Do So Yoon? Does it like pretty girls? But what did she feed it? He couldn't contain his curiosity and asked, "What is that seed?" She looked at him, a little surprised, and replied, "It's like a nutrient seed. It's very good." She then turned back to watch it eat deliciously, without a care in the world. After it had eaten its fill, it returned to his shoulder and fell into a peaceful sleep. She reverted to her usual cold demeanor, crossing her arms in front of her chest, and initiated a conversation with him for the first time. "It was nice meeting you today." She then bowed to say goodbye to Snow White. "See you next time." After she left, he returned to his room and plopped down on the sofa, sighing. Talking to her is so difficult. He tilted his head to ask Snow White, "You seem to like her, huh? She feeds you once, and you're hooked? Are you that smitten?" Suddenly, he sat bolt upright and exclaimed, "Wait a minute." He recalled her last words before she left. "See you next time, Snow White." He suddenly realized, I just noticed, I never told her Snow White's name. She left his room and walked down the wide hallway, a faint smile on her lips. "You am." Ook rested his chin on his hand, his expression deeply contemplative. "Do So Yoon, what should I do about her? She looks nice, but who doesn't know she's a stalker?" An image of So Yoon appeared with a somewhat distant smile, which certainly gave him a lot to think about. "See you next time, Snow White." He was still frowning, not knowing what to do. A series of notifications popped up like mushrooms after the rain, confusing him even more. Then, boom, one notification appeared that felt like a punch to the face. The famous part-time job listing has been edited. Ook was extremely bitter but couldn't do anything about it. What is this? Am I not busy enough? He reluctantly clicked on the notification to read it. Famous part-time job. The content of the notification was reeking of mockery. Job, feed Cerberus. Recruiter, Hades. Divine power, over 10,000. Experience. Animal taming skills are a plus. Description. I have to go on a business trip to Olympus, so I have to leave Cerberus at home for 3 days. It's an extremely easy job, just take good care of it. Full accident insurance provided. Salary. 200. P.S. Why is no one taking this job? I'll double the salary. A word from the boss. My dog doesn't bite. Normally, people would have run for the hills after seeing that job posting, because it was worse than a multi-level marketing scam. But Ook was an unusual case. Had the promise of a double salary blinded him? A stalker isn't important right now, is she? So, in a moment where his hand moved faster than his brain, he had clicked the confirm button. Even if I starve to death, I have to do this. The moonlight shone on a dense, dark forest. Perhaps it was the only source of light here, but unexpectedly, that faint white light was overwhelmed by a powerful blue light in the sky. Ook held his head. I'm getting used to falling like this, but a second later, he was blinded by a yellow light, forcing him to cover his face. Ugh, what is this? Being suddenly illuminated by a light like this was confusing. Who's shining a light in my face like this? He looked up and, wow. In front of him was a creature that was neither human nor monster, with wrinkled skin and eyes so wide they looked like they were about to pop out. It looked more like a ghost than a person. Seeing this figure, Ook screamed in terror. He looked for a way to escape, but realized it was impossible because he was on a boat. Water on all 4 sides. A boat? The figure holding the lantern pointed straight at him. "You?" Then it said something chilling. "You're dead." It explained the place. This is the river Styx, where the dead are brought to the underworld, and where the living cannot pass. Hearing this, Ook made an educated guess as to who was standing before him. The river Styx. So this guy is the ferryman Charon? He scratched his head, trying to find a way to escape. Actually, I'm here on business. Can you help me cross the river? Sharon's answer made him furious, but he had to restrain himself. No way, kid. However, knowing that he couldn't win with his fists, he resorted to verbal combat. Then can I meet Hades? This question snapped the last thread of the ferryman's patience. How dare a punk like you say his name directly? Of course, there was no way he would stop there. Teasing people was fun. Of course I'll call him Hades. What else should I call him? Ah, or should I use his titles? Lord of the Underworld, King of the Underworld, Your Majesty? Sharon angrily grabbed Uk's collar. Do you want to die? But unlike him, the boy was as calm as ever. Weren't you the one who provoked me first? Sharon gripped his scythe tightly. I've warned you. He then swung his scythe around. Turn back now, he screeched threateningly. Many low-level pipsqueaks like you have died on this staff. But to Uk, this threat wasn't even worth listening to. Wow, you're so evil. Knowing he was being disrespected, Charon became incredibly furious, as if he had eaten 10 chili peppers at once. Nonsense! This is your last chance, kid. Turn back! Uk just sneered, and gave him the middle finger. Seeing this, Charon could no longer restrain himself. Insolent! Without another word, he charged straight at the boy, intending to cut him down. All right, I'll kill you. When he was just a few millimeters away from his target, the most unexpected thing happened. His opponent dodged the blow. Then a voice called out, Snow White! Seeing that he had missed, Charon, who was already furious, became even more so. He swung his scythe wildly. Just die obediently, and you can officially sit on this ferry. But because his attacks had no purpose, Uk easily read his moves, and even made him hit himself. Sharon's eyes widened, not understanding what was happening. How? How can you hold something like that? Knowing full well what the opponent was confused about, Uk was delighted. So, that myth is probably true, right? Do you recognize this club? Of course, the other guy wasn't stupid enough not to know what that club was. Of course, that's Hercules' club, right? The mortal who defeated me and crossed the river while still alive. He was about to say something more, but before he could finish, Uk used the club to hit him on the head several times without letting up. Seeing that this guy was being a nuisance, Uk used the staff to shut him up. You talk too much. I'm busy. Hurry up. And for some reason, after being bonked on the head a few times, the other guy became much more docile. Well then, you at least have to pay the fee. Sensing that the opponent was showing signs of resistance, Uk asked a question that made Sharon shiver without being cold. What's that? A gi? Hearing that question, Sharon could only swallow his tears. Get on. Let's go quickly. In the dark night, the faint light of the moon was the only beacon guiding the boat, which sailed on and on. Finally, the boat docked. Uk knew this and smiled, thanking Sharon. Thanks a lot. Of course, he didn't know that the other guy behind him had sneakily raised his scythe for a surprise attack. You fool. You'll die instantly if you let your guard down in the underworld. He swung his scythe high without hesitation. Die. But as they say, man proposes, God disposes. Just at the moment when Sharon thought he had achieved his goal, boom, the power of Sword God. Intuition was activated. Thanks to this power, Uk narrowly escaped death. His eyes widened, clearly surprised by this new power. He was as stunned as a deer in headlights, not understanding what the hell was going on. So, this is the power of intuition? My body reacts faster than I can think. And Sharon, who was a tiger a second ago, instantly turned into a cat. How? Uk turned his face back, and gave Sharon a very affectionate smile. This won't do. I'll have to teach you a lesson. And Sharon could only scream in fear. He trembled like a leaf, tears welling up in his eyes as he saw Uk approaching him. Wait! Not letting his opponent wait too long, Uk dealt with this obstacle in a flash. Voom! What a failure, wasting my time. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. Are you the one who came to take care of Cerberus? It was the voice of an incredibly beautiful girl. She had hair as golden as the sun, along with a pair of beautiful eyes that would mesmerize anyone who looked into them. She hesitated. Are you the part-timer? The girl tucked her hair behind her ear and gave a radiant smile. It was the goddess of the underworld and spring, Persephone. She warmly welcomed her guest, who was also her employee for the time being. It's a pleasure to meet you. My husband was very angry because no one took the job. It's a good thing you're here, or he would have left it to me. This dazzling appearance made Uk blush. Yes, I'm Uk. He even mistook her for the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite. If the other person hadn't called Hades her husband, he might have really thought so. Aphrodite? No, Hades' wife. Must be Persephone. Persephone maintained her bright smile. Let me take you to Cerberus. The path became darker and darker, but as if she was used to it, Persephone showed no fear. She even chatted comfortably with Uamuk. It's quite far. We used to call it to the front, but my husband told me not to do that anymore. Ook found this very strange. Why? Persephone was no stranger to this kind of question. Half the people who come here run away as soon as they see it, so he thinks they should at least be skilled enough to defeat Charon to be able to control Cerberus. Hearing this, Uamuk understood the reason. Ah, so that's the first test. In fact, it was understandable that he himself was a little worried about his upcoming mission. In mythology, Cerberus was a fearsome monster, even known as the jailer of the underworld. I'm so anxious. But when he thought about his own abilities, boom, the anxiety vanished. No, don't worry, I'm the great sword god. Even if it's Cerberus, it's still just a dog. Persephone was very puzzled by him, not knowing what he was thinking to be so fired up. After walking for a while, they both arrived. Persephone announced, "We're here. It's right ahead." In the darkness, something huge and black was gradually emerging. But what was even scarier was that it didn't just have one head, but three. It had extremely sharp claws, which looked like they could kill someone at any moment. That thing appeared in front of Ook with, literally, fiery red eyes, along with drool dripping down. It must have been very hungry. When he saw this creature, the first thing Ook thought was, I'm screwed. Then the job posting notification appeared again. While Ook didn't know what to do but force a smile, Persephone's voice startled him. Mr. Ook, are you okay? Ook replied very awkwardly, because in reality, he was about to piss his pants in fear. Yes, I'm fine. Persephone, of course, didn't know this, so she remained as calm as ever. Here are some instructions on how to look after the dog that my husband wrote himself. Please read this before you start working. This was probably a rather new concept for Ook, because normally no one was free enough to write instructions on how to look after a dog. Instructions? He took the paper from Persephone. That's right. There's no way he would make me take care of that thing without preparing anything for me. He eagerly opened the paper and silently thanked his boss. Hades, you really have a plan, don't you? But in life, you never know what to expect. As soon as he opened the instruction paper, a whole bunch of warnings about Cerberus hit him in the face. He didn't understand what Hades was thinking to believe his dog was so well behaved amidst a dozen warnings like that. Things like, can be injured while feeding, and a whole bunch of cases that needed special attention, like, when Cerberus is guarding the underworld, lying down, standing, sitting, and many other words. To put it bluntly, you needed to be careful full time when taking care of this dog if you wanted to return in one piece. It was truly incomprehensible. At this point, Ook knew very well why half the people ran away when they saw Cerberus, because he himself wanted to do the same. Are you kidding me? It'd be quicker to just tell me to die. Persephone probably wasn't a stranger to this kind of attitude, so she remained very composed. And the daily schedule is also written on the back. Please check that too. My husband wrote it himself, so it should be followed. Ook looked confusedly at the paper he had just thrown down. A daily schedule? That schedule made him even more furious. Although it was just eating and walking, the problem was that these activities could only be done in the underworld. Not to mention how to walk this monster obediently. Ook angrily tore the paper in half. Don't kid me anymore. How do you expect me to walk that thing? You told me I just had to feed it in the job posting. Is this a systematic scam business or something? It really was a scam. Persephone gave him some advice. It's okay if you change your mind and go back, even right now. But man, her next words were nothing short of a threat. But I'm a little worried. The previous worker was caught by Hades when he abandoned the job, and my husband dragged his corpse down to the underworld. She even described the scene. My husband definitely tore his limbs apart, and it was so gruesome, I can't tell you more. When she saw Ook's wide eyes and sweat-drenched face, she stopped talking. Oh my, I shouldn't have said that. You should go now, quickly. Ook looked at the pathetic piece of paper that he had torn in half. He sighed and shook his head. What else could he do now but tape back the pieces he had just torn? Haha, I made a little mistake while trying to motivate myself. What should I start with? He must have regretted his choice a lot. I miss my mom. I really shouldn't have believed in a place that offered easy work for high pay. Persephone told him he could start with the most mentioned task in the instructions, feeding the dog. Then please start by feeding Cerberus. Do you see the minor goddesses carrying carts of meat into the warehouse? Seeing the huge carts of meat made him feel very lost. Should I join them? That's a lot. Persephone said something that Amuk knew would have a very high price if he didn't follow. In addition, he also tears apart those who try to trick him. Ook carried a whole bunch of huge slabs of meat on his shoulder to Persephone. I've brought it. What should I do now? Persephone was very pleased. Good. You can throw the pieces one by one to Cerberus. The three-headed dog, which had looked so scary a few minutes ago, had now turned into obedient puppies waiting for their owner to feed them. Its eyes lit up, and drool dripped down when it saw the food in front of it. Its growl now made Ook a little less scared. Oh my! It's growling so fiercely. Does it really turn into a dog in front of food? Right after that, it threw a mud pie at his head. Persephone to try hard to hold back her laughter at this sight. But she couldn't hold it in for long. Ah ha ha ha, this time it's really an interesting worker. And Ook looked extremely uncomfortable at this point. Persephone said while trying not to laugh, it's no use trying to teach them. Cerberus only listens to my husband. The three-headed dog, not seeing any food, became impatient. Where's the food? Give me the food, you! At this point, Ook had realized a harsh truth. Now I understand why no one takes the job. He angrily picked up the piece of meat. If that's the case, and threw it straight at the dog without any mercy. Screw it, here's your meat. But instead of hitting its mouth, it hit one of the three heads in the eye. The other two heads, ignoring their friend's hurt pride, just rolled on the floor laughing. Ook pretended to be sorry. Oh my, I'm sorry. I forgot to control my strength. Then he threw two more pieces of meat straight at the other two heads to teach them a lesson. You shouldn't laugh at your friend like that. But who knew that he was the one who was taught a lesson by that dog? They growled angrily, and slowly advanced towards Ook. But he didn't care much, even though they were now standing right in front of him, because they were chained. Ook knew this very well, so he enjoyed teasing the dog more than ever. He looked at them with a half-smile, and his eyes showed contempt. What can you do if you're mad, especially when you're still chained up like this? There's a saying, never judge a book by its cover. That saying was really true in this case, when Cerberus didn't take long to break that dog chain. Now Ook was really scared, but he still had to find a way to calm the monster down. Whoa there, wait a minute. Looking at the pathetic chain, Ook could only sigh. Huh? It just broke the chain like that? Right after that, the three-headed monster charged at him and attacked. Although he managed to get away, he couldn't avoid getting injured. In stark contrast to Damn Duck, Persephone was incredibly calm. Well, would you look at that? So this thing can break? Damn Duck felt as if the goddess's reaction nerves had completely shut down. I mean, how could a normal person be so calm? This was no time for admiration. Without a moment's hesitation, he pulled Persephone along with him. Run! Damn Duke glanced back at the dog. That crazy dog was trying to bite me just because I teased it a little. The state of his arm also made Persephone worry. Is your arm okay? But perhaps the wound was nothing to him, or maybe he was just enduring the pain. I'm fine, it just grazed me. He felt extremely uneasy about the workplace safety here. How could that chain have snapped so easily in the first place? Even shoddy construction with no warranty should have its limits. However, Persephone was just as confused as he was. This is the first time I've ever seen it like. Cerberus caught up to them faster than Damn Duke had expected. Damn it, it's too fast. Let's split up. But Persephone remained calm. No, you should stay close to me. Her words raised a huge question mark in Damn Duke's mind. Her reply was full of confidence. I may look like this, but I am the wife of the god who rules the underworld, you know. As long as I'm here, it won't attack recklessly. However, as fate would have it, the monster didn't listen to her at all. Damn Duck shouted, "It's doing it right now." Persephone herself was also very surprised. It's doing it. At this point he had no other choice but to ask for help. Bok Tuyet. Upon hearing the command, the beast that had been on his shoulder throughout the journey gradually transformed into some kind of weapon. He swung the weapon and leaped high into the air. Damduke's eyes widened in defiance. "Try biting this, you mangy mutt." Then he slashed straight at the dog. But while he wasn't looking, it raised its claws to attack him from behind. And it succeeded. Damduke looked miserable after that attack, but it seemed he could still stand. Damn, how is it so strong? The monster continued to charge aggressively towards him. Persephone screamed, "Damn duck, get away from there, hurry up!" she called out in terror. "If you fall into the river Styx, it'll catch you and eat you. Damn duck!" At that moment, a pile of hands began to appear behind Damn Duck. But he was no longer lucid enough. "Damn it, my mind is fading. I can't hear what she's saying." Persephone's face turned pale. "He doesn't seem to hear me. What should I do?" She tried to command the beast. "Cerberus, stop, sit. I told you to stop." But it seemed to have no effect, as it kept advancing towards Damduke. "Obey me, you mongrel." Not only that, but it also pushed her away. Cerberus kept getting closer to Damduke. He was desperate. Damn it all. "I came here to feed a dog, but I ended up becoming its food." However, he was still resilient. "Like hell, I'll accept this." He threw himself towards the hands just before the beast could devour him. "I refuse to die like this." Persephone screamed in horror. "Mr. Damduck." But he had already disappeared.